Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today, as you can see, we've got the ZOE reveal. I was not expecting that at all, because, you know, we haven't seen, like, a bunch of other things, but it's a ZOE reveal, so let's just go and jump straight in. I'll make sure it's not too loud this time, like it was last time. My face is in the middle. Hold on, let me just alter that as well. I'll go over to the side again. And yes, let's go. Zoe. Zoe, 1 mana, elusive. A 1/1. Nexus Strike, create a super cool star chant in hand, or if you have one, reduce its cost by 1. I've seen you play 10 cards with different names, so it is definitely the P&Z type thing. Obviously, Catastrophe comes to mind with that kind of thing. A 1 mana, 1/1. Let's see what super cool star chant does first before we talk about Zoe. Super cool Star Chant is a 2 mana burst speed spell. Invoke a celestial card that costs 3 or less, and then if you are about to get another one, then you reduce this cost by 1 instead. From Zoe. So this is a playable card as well, as you can see by the manager. So invoke a celestial card that costs 3 or less. We all know what these are. They are the messenger, it's the serpent, I'm not sure if it's called the serpent, but you know, the serpent one, the elusive, the trickster, I can't remember the full one, but the overwhelm. Equinox, Moonsilver, Moonglow is it called, the 2 mana slow speed spell, and Crescent Strike, the stun. Those are the 8 cards you're gonna get. And it's not a bad group of cards, it's a fine group of cards. You know, would I pay 4 mana for a messenger? No. You know, Crescent Strike is sometimes good. Equinox is usually, you know, pretty good for stopping stuff, in particular if stuff like Swain is good and Leviathan is around, or other big followers are around, you know, maybe Ledros or something like that. So I'm not quite sure yet, but let's see Zoe's level up. Wait, what? It reduced... Did I read her wrong? Hold on, let me go back. If you have one in hand, create a super cool star chant in hand, or if you have one, reduce its cost by 1. Did this cost go down? Was I being stupid here? So they picked the messenger, right? Yeah? Oh, I'm guessing it's that this card is... Paddle Star. 3 mana, slow speed spell. Deal 4 to an enemy that attacked this round or is stunned. Deal 4 to an enemy that attacked this round or is stunned for 3 mana. So it's like a really bad Ravenous Flock. Yeah, that's not a good card, I don't think. I mean, it's not terrible. Deal 4 is always like somewhat good, but like, you know, compared to Flock, obviously this is ridiculous. I guess, you know, it has like Leona synergies with the stun type thing, of course. So maybe it could see some play in Daybreak decks, maybe. Like Leona Yasuo might run this card, I guess, as like a replacement for Flock. But overall, I don't think you'll be seeing too much of this card, or I'd be surprised, unless like 4 health units, you know, become dominant all of a sudden. Which maybe they will. And Paddle Star, yeah. Spell Thief. Oh, 1 mana burst speed. Pick 1 of 3 enemy spells played this game and create a copy in hand. Pick 1 of 3 enemy spells played this game. So what if they've only played 1 enemy spell? I guess they're going to show us how this works.
Hey, what you got there?
So if they play 1, I guess you just get to pick the 1, right? That is whoa, hold on, let's evaluate this card, because I just kind of wanted to see how it worked. But pick 1 of 3 enemy spells played this game and create a copy in hand. That must be good. That can't not be good, right? Like for 1 mana burst speed? Like, obviously, you assume that your opponent is going to play good cards. And, you know, good cards tend to, you know, be somewhat universally good. Yes, there are certain decks that are very synergistic and won't be as good. But, you know, look at what's in the meta right now. What would you be pulling? I don't know. Mystic Shot from Ezreal Draven. You know, a Flock, a Tri-Beam. Like, Tri-Beam is like a good example of a card that is good within a certain deck, but maybe not every deck. But generally, you're going to be pulling good cards. You know, decks don't run bad cards. So yeah, most of the time you're going to be finding something that is worthwhile, and you're paying the 1 extra mana essentially for a card draw and a sort of known card draw as well to an extent. Like, if they've played 3 spells, you know, that you don't want, you can just wait for them, you know, to play some spells that, you know, like, oh, I would want a Vengeance here, you know, or that would be helpful if I had a Vengeance. You know, stuff like Go Hard, I guess, kind of counters this. Will we see, like, the unit Go Hard if Spell Thief becomes, you know, everywhere? But yeah, this is a card that I definitely think... Does your opponent get to see what they chose? That will be an interesting side effect as well, because obviously if they can see it, that will obviously help you a lot, and would probably... I hope that you can, because that would, you know, sort of take this card away from sort of, you know, the problems we used to have with Plunder and not being able to know what they took and stuff like that. I hope that they can see it, so that, you know, then you can just know, oh, right, okay, they've got a Vengeance in hand. I'll just play around Vengeance. But yeah, really interesting. That's a crazy card. That looks very Mario. This is doesn't this look very Mario?
The wheel turns. Day becomes night. Time to make colors.
Okay, Zoe becomes a 2/2 elusive, the good old Teemo stat line. For the rest of the game, when you summon an ally, grant its keywords to all allies. Nexus Strike, create a Behold the Infinite that costs 0 in hand. So, you know, then a Behold the Infinite becomes very much worth it. For the rest of the game, when you summon an ally, grant its keywords to all allies. How good is that? That is interesting. That is really, really interesting. So essentially, you're going to end up with like a board full of like probably elusive, challenger, maybe even like regeneration, quick attack types, right? Oh. So Victor, obviously there is kind of a keyword generic synergy with Victor here, I guess. But obviously Victor's spell like gives it to him after he comes down. So they'll all get augment. I think. Which would be pretty good on a bunch of elusives, I guess. This feels like a deck that's gonna have someone is eventually going to figure it out, but this is gonna be a like really hard deck to construct and realize like how many different card names do I need, like how many, like what cards are good for creating different cards, like what's worth it, what isn't worth it, how many celestial cards do I need, you know, what keywords do I want, what units are worth giving keywords to. It's gonna take a while, I think, before someone figures out, okay, this is how Zoe is. This is Zoe's deck, you know, where we've got a bunch of synergies with these different keywords. It might take some time. I admit it really might take some time. And I actually think, off the top of my head, unfortunately, I think Vi is just surely a better option than Victor in this kind of thing. Like, you know, giving all of your allies Challenger Tough, that's useful. Whereas giving them all Augment, I guess, is somewhat useful in this deck, but, you know, it's not always going to go your way, and your opponent's going to be able to do stuff, and giving everything Tough is pretty nice. And, you know, then you can give Vi Elusive, potentially, if you drop another Elusive, so we'll see. We'll see. It feels like I'm on Rainbow Road with this music, by the way. We had a choice. What was this? What got played there? Oh, this was Stalking Shadows. Okay, that makes sense. Choose Sparklefly, which is an elusive lifesteal 1/2. That's an interesting card. Okay. And it also should be noted, I'm pretty sure I missed this, but when she levels up, wherever it is, she creates a Behold the Infinite, which is different to Super Cool Star Chart. Behold the Infinite is the normal 2-mana one that can give you any Celestial. So just keep that in mind as well. And obviously, if you can get a big unit from that and get, the Spell Shield, the Overwhelm, the, Elusive, then obviously that goes pretty well with Zoe. Yeah, she wins. Yeah, okay. So now we're going to go over to Twitter and, talk about these cards a bit more in depth. Okay, so here we are. We've got Zoe. This is a pretty funny art. Let's start there. That's just pretty funny. Let's talk about the cards that we haven't seen so far. So we've got this one here, which is Zoe's signature spell, Zoe's Sleepy Trouble Bubble, which is a 2-mana slow speed spell. Stun an enemy, create a fleeting paddle star in hand. So obviously this gives you the chance to essentially stun an enemy and then kill it for 5 mana. Well, potentially deal 4 to it for 5 mana. I guess it works with the kind of whole creating a fleeting X thing in it. Obviously it's not great. It's important to note as well that this will be a normal card as well. All the champion spells are playable cards as well. It's just that the champion versions don't have gems, and so this specific one doesn't have a gem, but you will be able to play this as well normally. And I don't think you would, like 5 mana, 5 mana just seems like a lot. Like you compare this to I guess it's only one spell, so you can kind of see it as this is a 5 mana stun and then kill an enemy, or probably kill an enemy spell, which thinking about it isn't as bad. It is all at slow speed, so it's a bit iffy, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible because essentially it is one card, right? I was thinking of it's 2 cards, but obviously if this is creating it, it's only one card. So it's not that bad. It's okay, is what I would say for that. We've seen this, as I've said, this is a playable card. Starry Scamp is a 2-mana 2/2. If I cost 2 less if you behold a Celestial. Whoa. So you can make a 0-mana 2/2. Obviously you would want that in a very, very aggro deck, right? Obviously that fits a Celestial aggro deck, which I guess is what Zoe is trying to be. But here's the thing, right? This is kind of a bit of a weird thing, because Zoe obviously needs you to play cards with different names. This is kind of saying, look, we want to be an aggressive Celestial deck. Aggressive decks tend to want to run literally, in Runeterra, it will be all 3 ofs and maybe a 1 of, or all 3 ofs and 2 2-ofs. That's how aggro decks run, because they have to work. Every card needs to be have a specific goal in mind, and you can't afford you can't afford to be waiting around with stuff. I guess Celestial gives you this choice at 3, so the likelihood is you're going to be able to find either the snake or the 4/1 1-mana Overwhelm card, which I guess is kind of how they're trying to push you. They're trying to get you down that way. And if you can find a way to buff your entire board, then it could work. But you're in PNZ and Targon, and how many buffs to an entire board do they have? Not too many that I can think off the top of my head. I'm just trying to how does this deck beat Avalanche? You know what I mean? It just feels yeah, you play stuff. I don't know how it beats an Avalanche, or an Ezreal Draven, a bunch of Mystic Shots and other stuff like that. I don't know. Anyway, Sparklefly is a 2-mana 1/2 elusive lifesteal. Now this to me is probably a better version of the 3-mana 1/2 that is Spell Shield lifesteal. Yes, it doesn't have Spell Shield, but having elusive means that it can attack somewhat usefully. It's obviously a whole mana less, so it's a lot less commitment. And if you can keep this alive and buff it, this is a great target for something like Mentor of the Stones. You go 2, then you go Mentor, and then you attack, and then you've got this 3/4 elusive lifesteal, which is really, really nice. And then obviously if you can get the gems after that, you can just pump this thing up to ridiculous amounts of attack as well. So that is overall, I would say, quite nice as a card. Obviously, get kind of hard counted by Hush. But let's talk about Zoe and where I think Zoe is as a card. As I say, I'm a bit perplexed at exactly how this deck is going to work. I'm sure someone will figure out a way to make this kind of deck work, whether it uses Augment. Personally, I'm not sure Victor would even go in a Zoe deck. I think you'd be better off playing Vi. You know, you're playing obviously a bunch of small cost units and spells to, get a bunch of get Zoe leveled up essentially. So obviously Vi's attack would obviously then go up a lot. By the time she's on turn 5, you'd expect Vi to be on 7, 8, 9 attack by the time you're there. And if you've leveled up Zoe by that point, obviously she'll give everything challenge and tough, which is pretty useful. It's going to be an odd deck to create. It's going to be really weird. And I'm not sure you'd probably... it looks like there's kind of an elusive synergy going on here. Could you see Targon, P, and Z elusives? Possibly. That I think is one way you could go with the deck. Could you see, I've played before Targon Bilgewater elusives. I found, quite good using stuff like Lounging Lizard with gems and stuff like that, right? It's a really kind of cool, unique design, and using stuff like Mentor of the Stones. And this only adds to that, really, this Sparklefly here. And maybe Zoe fits in as well. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I don't know, it's all a bit confusing to me now. I don't really know how to evaluate Zoe, because I'm just not sure if there is a deck yet. It doesn't quite fit a deck that I think I've seen before. Maybe it does. The card to me is Spell Thief. This card seems insane. As I say, because your opponent is probably only going to play good spells, it's likely that, they're going to play at least one spell that you could probably find a use of. We saw some good options in the video there with Unspeakable Horror, Stalking Shadows. Those are really good options, right? That's a great card to get in a lot of different situations. You're running out of gas. Oh, well, my opponent has played, Progress Day or something. I'll just steal their card and use my own Progress Day or some, big draw effect. That is really, really useful. And that's a card that I think would be played somewhat ubiquitously. To me, that seems like a really, really strong card. And to the point where, as I say, we might see decks that go away from spells, which would be a really, really different thing that we have not seen before. Maybe we'll even start to see Stony Suppressor. Maybe that's why Stony Suppressor was printed as a Spell Thief counter, of course. Spell Thief now costs 2 mana, and then your card you get is costing 1 more than it should, and then every spell you're playing is costing 1 more. That would kind of be a nightmare, I guess, for a deck that wants to, if gems cost 2, that's kind of a nightmare for this kind of thing. If every celestial spell costs, 1 more as well, and it's that would be a real problem for this deck, and I guess that's kind of why they printed it, because this card seems really, really good. But this has been I did not expect this reveal at all, because normally they preempt it with oh, here's a bunch of Targon followers, don't know what's going on. I'm a bit sad for Victor, because I thought the synergy would be better with Victor. I don't think it's quite as good as I was expecting, so that's a little sad. But yeah, we'll see. I'm sure someone can make a deck out of it. There's probably a couple more Targon cards that, maybe even PNZ cards that are coming that, could also help. Spell Thief, I think, is just kind of universally good. Obviously it's good for this deck, but it's also good for, kind of every deck. And now, people are going to try this Catastrophe deck, and we got a real champion for it. And, with Augment, there's going to be a Catastrophe deck. I'm not sure it'll be that great, because, Catastrophe still dies to Venge. Well, you could Bastion it, I suppose. But yeah, Bastion Catastrophe. It could happen. And if you can run a pretty consistent list and you don't have to run that many one-offs, then yeah, it really could be good. Definitely Submersible, though, because of course you want to get to 10 with Zoe anyway. So Submersible would be an auto include in this list, and that's a pretty solid card anyway. So yeah, certainly interesting. I think Submersible's just a pretty good card anyway. So yeah, that's all I've really got to say on the matter. Let me know what you guys think of Zoe. This is really interesting to me. It seems like there's quite a few different things that you could do, but I don't quite know what the deck looks like at all, really. So let me know what you guys think, and thank you for watching. I will see you tomorrow with more Runeterra reveals.